We have, and it's just increased our workload tremendously. We've had to add employees, and our procedures have had to be looked at, and we continue to look at them. But I have to say that I truly believe, with my years of experience, that there's no question that your quality is going to be better in containers, and you deserve the quality that we have in the U.S., and we'll talk about that a little bit later here. Just real briefly, the Federal Grain Inspection Service is a part of GIPSA. You hear the word GIPSA, that's Grain Inspection, Packers, Stockyards. FGIS is just a part of that agency. We have employees and offices scattered throughout the U.S. You've seen several maps of the United States today. Of course, our major grain belt is here in the central part of the U.S. These dots here represent where we have FGIS field offices, and these other locations are where we have our inspection offices. FGIS is kind of a unique government agency that everything we do, we fall under what we call user fee, where whatever we do, it's a fee for the service. There may be questions later about how service charges are applied. They're different in different regions. If you have those questions, Bo and Brandon, who are here from DeLong, are probably even better to answer that than myself. But we're scattered all over the country, and all the key locations where grain is grown, grain is shipped, and grain is exported. Our primary role is to facilitate the marketing of grain. We establish and maintain the official U.S. standards for measuring grains, rices, and pulses, oil seeds. We establish the sampling methods, which are real key. I'm going to go into detail about some of those in a second. The testing procedures and the approved equipment. Of course, we manage the National Inspection System also. FGIS does not market grain. We do not mandate the quality. We certainly don't set the grain prices. Although we are feeling them for you, as they've just gone crazy here in the last several months. And we do not arbitrate disputes, and we want to keep it that way. We work with other government agency partners for our responsibilities. The APHIS is the Animal Plant Health Inspection Service. That's the agency that issues the phytosanitary certificates. Our role with them is we provide the sample. We take the sample of the grain, and then we provide the information, mainly on quarantine issues concerning infestation and weed seeds, those kind of things. FDA is our government organization called Food and Drug Administration. Our role with them is mainly providing them with information for food safety issues, such as grain that's been contaminated with either animal filth or fertilizer or those kind of things. So we work with those partners, key partners, in providing a safe grain. We're governed by two laws. I won't go into detail about them. They're just two laws that have been mandated by Congress to market grain in the U.S. The Grain Standards Act has been around for almost 100 years now. It's one of the oldest laws in the U.S., actually. Under the Grain Standards Act, there are a number of grains that have individual standards for measurement. I won't detail them all to this session here with, of course, our cooperators is corn and soybeans. Again, each has a separate standard for measuring with different factors to classify the grain. The Agriculture Marketing Act is what covers the rice, pulses, and of course of interest to you would be the cornmeal and soy meal. That's under a different act where there's currently no measurement standards, but we do provide sampling for those products. I'll go into our containers. Containers, of course, Bo and some of the other presenters, Dean mainly was talking about how we have such a sophisticated advanced transportation system in the U.S. that has evolved over many decades. This is a photo of containers going to market on the Columbia River, the Pacific Northwest. One of the major railroads that Dean was talking about, how there's certain railroads that transport the product. Containerized grain is what my topic about. We're probably going to go into detail here. It's an interesting phenomenon. Just again, 3 or 4 years ago, I had no clue that grain would be shipped in containers. But here we are. Our basic services that we provide our customers, our shippers, are the same as they would be for bulk shipments. The key, they're all important. A storage exam is performed before the grain is loaded into the container. We look for key things like the seals being good, and like Bo said, we stick employees in there, they shut the doors, and we want to make sure that that container is not going to be have any reason to ruin the grain during the transporting. We responsible for weighing. I'll touch on that in a second. I'll touch on sampling, which is probably the most important part of the whole process. If you don't have a good sample, you really aren't measuring adequately. Our inspection procedures, and of course the certification when we're all finished. It's just part of the services. FGIS, our organization and our sister agencies that work with us, are an unbiased, neutral third-party assessment. We represent the growers, the shippers, the farmers, you importers, you end users, buyers, and our customers, our citizens of the U.S. for that matter. We have uniform standards and procedures that we apply no matter where the inspection is performed, and our certificates are only issued at authorized laboratories that are under the FGIS umbrella. I'll go through these real quick. They're kind of outdated already. It talks about mainly how the exports of containers have increased. Bo covered that earlier, and Dean, excuse me. Container exports, of course, it looks, soybeans have seemed to be the leading grain that's been exported in containers, with wheat being the least. Again, this information doesn't cover the cornmeal, soy meal, or the DDGS products that are also on a huge increase in containers. Container loading facilities have just exploded in the last couple years, and even since this calendar year of 2007, there's been several more added. I work in California, I live in Sacramento, but my main responsibility is in the LA and the Oakland Bay area. We've had a number of export container loading facilities starting up, and even as I speak, I'm sure there's even a few more getting into the picture. The key ones currently, and especially when the slide was developed, was like Bo was talking, was in the hub of Chicago is where the majority of them are. And again, they're just have really increased just over the last couple years, especially since 2006. The inspections that we perform have also increased. I really won't go too much into that, so I can kind of move forward with time here. A key thing about grain shipment by containers, they can be loaded at various locations, as Bo talked about earlier. The buyers and the receivers can set the contract terms with the quality that you want or whatever specifications you're asking for. There are different types of inspections. This has really kind of even been outdated a little bit. There are the official FGIS services. There are also independent surveying companies throughout the U.S. that are involved in inspecting and measuring grain, like SGS, OMEC, different companies like that. And then sometimes in the beginning, let's put it that way, in the beginning there was a lot of containers shipped with the shipper's own quality information. This has changed a lot back to FGIS services. I don't have it in the slides here, but there was it's not really a law, but it was an agreement that was passed with our other agency called APHIS in August of 2007, whereas they came together with our people, our leaders, top leaders, agreed that APHIS will only now issue phytosanitary certificates on a sample of grain that FGIS sampled. That meaning that any phytosanitary certificate that you get, or if you're a country that requires a phytosanitary certificate, FGIS must perform the sampling. So what that has done is just about eliminated any other parties from providing the inspection information. So APHIS will not issue a phyto to a country that requires phyto without our certification. And that's another reason that is added a challenge to us to be ready for that service. There is an exemption for a few facilities that want to ship grain that are new to the business. If they don't have to have a phyto, they can apply for a 15,000-ton exemption, and there are a few of those exemptions out there. Very few now because of the APHIS agreement. But that